All right, how are you guys doing? What number are we on?
We have like a question about like 11. Like, I don't really remember the different perspectives.
Okay, that was a long time ago. We covered perspectives at the beginning of the year. And 11, yes, 11 asks about history, which we don't spend a lot of time on in class. So, let's talk about number 11. You guys flip to it really quick. Are you guys on it?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Go ahead and read it to yourselves quietly. We'll do that first. When you guys are done, go ahead and look up here. Done? Awesome. Okay. So these AP questions are a headache because they'll ask you 4 things and they'll ask you like Roman numerals to put those 4 things in order. So you might get 1 or 2 of these on the test. But it's about different movements in psychology, as in like the history of psychology, what movements came first, second, third, fourth. So that's what you're going to be asked to classify here. So this is one of those questions where you not only have to know what each of the movements are, but which of them came first. If you know what they are, you can probably take a pretty good guess. So, the 4 movements that they ask you to order are behaviorism, psychoanalysis, structuralism, and humanism. So, do you guys know what behaviorism is?
It's something with behavior. The study of behavior as opposed to...
Yeah, behavior instead of thoughts and feelings. So, Sigmund Freud, if you remember, like he was all caught up in how we feel and how we think. Behaviorists were like, no, we reject that. We're tired of that. We're going to only focus on what we do because I can observe what we do. I can see your behavior. I can't see your thoughts. So behavior is observable, so we're going to focus on that because that's scientific. I can actually measure it. So behaviorism. Psychoanalysis. Do you know whose theory that was?
Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud. Your boy Sigmund Freud. So, what do you know about Sigmund Freud in terms of order, right? In terms of history? When did Sigmund Freud occur? Was he like later in psychology or one of the first psychologists?
First, yeah.
Yes, one of the first. Okay. Structuralism, that's a really hard term. It barely makes its way on the AP test. Does anybody know what structuralism is? Because I would not.
I definitely identify like the structures, right?
Yeah.
The structures of.
Like the brain or like whatever like controls like how you think, you feel and stuff.
Yes, okay. So when you hear structures, usually you think about the parts of the brain. This is about the different parts of the mind, structuralism. The mind is made up of different parts. So for example, if you guys want to write this, yeah, please write it. Because we honestly, we touched on it, but out of so many vocab words, we need to revisit it.
Eric Harrison, you're right.
So parts of the mind.
Key sensory motor.
So you guys all think, you feel, you act, you sense things, like you hear, smell, see, you perceive things. So you have a bunch of things that your mind does. So those are all parts of the mind. Sensing, perceiving, thinking, feeling. So structuralism is about trying to find all the different pieces of the mind. Like if you guys remember, I think it was...
I guess C would make sense.
Probably the second class, I had you guys build a puzzle. Do you guys remember that?
Right here, I wrote it down.
I gave you guys all little puzzle pieces and then you assembled it together and I asked you what are the different parts of our mind. And so each puzzle piece, structuralists try to identify what is each piece of the mind. So, structuralism. And then the last one is humanism. Do you guys remember humanism?
Yeah.
Do you guys...
The one with like the pyramid or Maslow?
Maslow?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the other dude?
Carl? No.
Yeah, Carl Rogers. Yes,
Yeah.
Carl Rogers. Yes. Okay, so what those dudes focused on was about reaching your full potential. Okay? So, reaching your full potential. That's all like self-actualization, unconditional positive regard. That's what goes along with that. Shella, you mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's all part of humanism. Basically, trying to be the best human possible by reaching your full potential.
That'll be last.
Abraham Maslow and Karl
Isn't that,
Rove.
like after psychoanalysis though?
So, yeah, psychoanalysis is one of the first. Okay, so humanism was in response to behaviorism. Behaviorism was like, hey, everything that you do is all about rewards and punishments. So if I reinforce you for something or punish you for something, you're like an animal and you're going to respond according to what's rewarded and what's punished. Humanists were like, no, we're not animals, we're humans, we're unique, we think, we feel. And so that was a kind of an argument against behaviorism. So, I want you guys, now that we've talked about this, we've talked enough, I want you guys to try and order them from what you think is first to last. So you have Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and order them from first to last. I'm going to go around and I'm going to look at the way you ordered them. And it's okay if they're wrong.
But it says think of objects and how they're supposed to use only when where? What were the functional fixing? Yeah, it is that.
Okay, so circle what you think is the correct answer. Some of you already have it circled. Okay. So, let's see. You put D. What'd you put? B, D, B. Oh, okay, we're divided. That's cool. D. Okay. So, the first one you put, a lot of people, you guys said the first one was structuralism. Structuralism was the very, very first psychological movement. It's basically identifying the pieces of the mind. So that's where a lot of you guys messed up. Did a lot of you think psychoanalysis first? Yeah, so that was actually the second. Even though, so like Sigmund Freud, he's thought of as like the original psychologist. To a lot of people, I mean, he generally popularized it. He made it a big deal, psychology as like a field. But the first movement in psychology was structuralism. So he came second. So what's after psychoanalysis? Behaviorism, all about rewards and punishments. And then after behaviorism, humanism. Cool. So the AP test is, they do ask about the sequence. So structuralism, and then Sigmund Freud came along and blew up the field of psychology with psychoanalysis, the whole unconscious. And then B.F. Skinner, those behaviorists, were all like, this isn't measurable. I can't measure what you're thinking, I can only measure your behavior. So that was the next movement. And then after that, the humanists were like, we don't just respond to rewards and punishments like B.F. Skinner says. That was the last humanist. So, yes. If anything, this was like a really good review of all the major movements in psychology. It's just putting them in the right order. If you know each of these movements, you're going to get probably 90% of the test correct. Because what the movements stand for matters more than the order of them. So, you guys have anything else you want to go over? Good? Okay, so go to another question and work from there. I'll bounce back to you guys' table. Let me go check on some other groups.